This is Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
I shudder thinking how the world can be so cruel. I lend my voice to those who can't. It's time we try, it's time we care, it's time we stand. It starts with a voice.
Welcome to the Special Chronicles show. This is episode 523. My name is Daniel Smrokowski, and I'm the founder of Special Chronicles and a Special Olympics Southern Striver International Global Messenger and a Service Ambassador at United Airlines based in Chicago. Our website, specialchronicles.com, where you can stream archives of over 730 episodes absolutely for free, and to follow Special Chronicles on social media and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you listen to your podcast. This week on the Special Chronicles podcast Unified at Work series, season 4, part 4, we're on the job with Chris Lindsey or at Aviation _level 356 on Instagram, a ramp agent in Chicago, with United Airlines. So please put your virtual hands together as we welcome Chris to the Special Chronicles show. Welcome, Chris.
Always a good introduction to that.
Yeah, don't see. It's always. I mean, I had a guest one time that said that she's down in Atlanta/Orlando area. And she says, well, when she listens to podcasts, she always applauds. Like, that's always a great stuff on the show when the host can't talk. Applauds to the applause. Applause. Okay, well, anyways, so thanks for coming on the show. This is So this episode of the Special Chronicles show, this is part of our Unified at Work series, which features conversations about the meaning of inclusive employment, and it's sponsored by United Airlines Bridge, BLG. So I'm trying to figure out where to point. This is what I see, what the viewer sees. So okay. So with that, we got a lot to cover in your story, but let's maybe have you share how we got connected, and the image for this episode. Sometimes I have the guests send me an image, and I was like, and I was going to have you do that for you, and then last minute before we started recording, I remembered, oh yeah, we took a picture in real life, and I was like, okay, well that's perfect. I don't have to ask you for an image, and so let's maybe we can begin with that. I guess how we got connected and first met in real life.
Yeah, I think we connected on Instagram, as mostly everyone at United has.
Yeah, most being United social media influencers have.
Yeah, and then you were doing a fundraiser by selling hot dogs, and I just happened to walk by, and you were like, "Oh my god!" I'm so elusive out in the airport, and then when people see me, they're like, "Wait, I know you."
Yeah, that was a fun day. And speaking of that, one of the ramp supervisors who I think got promoted, I'm blanking on his name. I connected with him on LinkedIn, but he actually made a joke. So one of my customer service supervisors, Mimi, she kind of made a joke, and I don't know if it is if G-rated, G-rated on a podcast. / if I say it, if anyone from Human Resources hears it, it might not be good. So I'm gonna stop talking and say, Chris, I I can tell you that off air. But it was a funny comment related to hot dogs and the name of my supervisor, Mimi, and you can probably use your imagination to figure out what that is. I thought he said, maybe I said too much.
It's all right.
I'll tell you off air. Yeah, so that's how we got connected, and now I guess in a kind of brief introduction, as this podcast, and I guess a lot of podcasts on Instagram with these 1-minute reels and sharing clips is that's the best way to, I guess, promote this podcast. And so in the spirit of a 1-minute reel, 1-minute Instagram reel, share with us your connection to our disability community, what disability you were diagnosed with. And
so basically, I'm obviously on the autism spectrum. I connect very well because I want to bring awareness to it, and the fact that, there's more, also you hear in the media negative things about autism and the tantrums and everything, but I want to show that, hey, it's not like that at all. And obviously, anybody with a disability can, one day bring light to people's lives, happiness, joy, and, that's my goal with the awareness for the autism community is showing, parents with children that have autism, okay, it's going to be rough, but in the end, we work hard towards this. It could definitely be amazing, and our child can, grow and live a normal life and inspire others, and just keep the domino effect of inspiration to people with disabilities, autism, and that's where I can connect pretty well, because just keep that domino effect of inspiration.
Awesome.
Continue.
Awesome. Well, that's a good lead into our next segment after we take this first sponsor break. But I love what you said about, especially how you said about bringing light. And then the whole idea of inspiration, and that could probably get us down a whole nother rabbit trail of of the whole idea. I don't know if you've heard, and I guess in our disability community, we use the term inspiration porn, PORN, and we don't have to get into it. I don't know if you've heard of that, but I'm sure that, just like you or myself or any other advocate in our community, that's not the whole idea of inspiration porn is not the intent. So we're going to go ahead and take a short break. When we come back, we'll get into more of your stories and I guess we kind of gave out listeners kind of briefly where you are now, and now in any good movie or documentary story, and after the break, we're going to flash back to your younger years, and then get into more about advocating for autism, and your United journey is coming up later on in this episode. Our guest is Chris Lindsey, Ramp Agent at United Airlines in Chicago, and we're talking all about autism advocacy in this month of April. Autism Awareness or Acceptance Month. And we'll be back after this short break right here on SpecialChronicles.com. Support for Special Chronicles comes from listeners like you. As an independent public media podcast, Special Chronicles will always be there for you. Now we're asking you to be there for us. As a nonprofit independent media organization, we can only make programs like Special Chronicles with listener support. Our programs provide weekly, candid, honest, and inspiring conversations about the people with disabilities community that creates awareness, support, and advocacy within each week's episode. Listeners tell us our shows are an enjoyable and necessary podcast for the intellectual and developmental disability community and everyone else who is able to listen to stories about life from a different angle. Please, if you and your family love our weekly podcasts, make a one-time, monthly, or annual gift of thanks today. Support this podcast at SpecialChronicles.com/give. That's SpecialChronicles.com/give. And, whoa, sorry, I was Sorry about that. I was trying to text my producer because I've got a meeting with her in 15 minutes, and I know we're going to run over. So I will pause that text, and that's the way that we do things. We text our producer when we got a sponsor break. Anyways, we're going to flashback. Flashback? I think that's what they say. Flashback. Yeah, flashback to your younger years and have you your early years and grow up because now you so flashback to your early years and share with us a little bit about growing up with a disability with Asperger's, or as we know referred to now as autism. My sister was a doctor of physical therapy, and I had her on when before I moved into this studio. This was actually her bedroom for a few years, and then she moved out, and I was like, free room. Turn this into a podcast studio. It's all good. Anyways, I had needed a last minute guest, and so I had an last minute decision to bring her on. And so when it's your sister, when it's a family member, you can do that. And so, so she told me that it's referred to now as just autism. So with that, can you tell us a little bit about growing up with autism and kind of what your early years were like?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with it in, I believe, 2006. We went to so many therapists and experts, and then finally, we went to this one person who was considered this doctor was the god of autism diagnosis and this and that. I can't remember the doctor's name, unfortunately, but yeah, immediately within 15 minutes of being in that appointment, he was like, "Yep, he's got autism." And so it was a challenge, especially for my parents, because you have to figure out, okay, the sensory issues. You have to figure out what do they like, what causes them to, have a freak out. And for me, actually, this is a good laugh, is jeans. Refuse to wear them. I haven't worn them since I was 12 years old, and I will refuse to put on a pair. Just hate the texture, the look, the feel. Just nope. Don't even try it. I've had people I'll make you wear jeans. Good luck. So yeah, but growing up with it was difficult because as my mother likes to point out is as kids were going like this, I flatlined out, was like this. And we went to several therapists until finally we found the best one who I actually still recommend to people. Her name was Pam Davis it's now Amita Health.
Yeah.
And she over, oh my God, so many years, I think at least 8 years, she worked with me and got me to where I'm at now, where, yeah, I saw her for a good about almost 10 years, and she was able to get me to start going up and become what I am now today, thanks to her. I'll always recommend her to anybody with autism.
Awesome. Well, if you want to DM me, because I guess that's the way that we connected. Yeah. Usually it's on Instagram through DMing. So listeners, if you want to DM with me, specialchronicles.com, at Special Chronicles, or at Podman Dan. If you want to DM me that doctor that you recommend to others, and so if any of our listeners, whether you have a family member or maybe you yourself have autism and you are looking for a doctor to diagnose your child or yourself, would you mind sharing that name or contact?
Yeah, I think the doctor that diagnosed me, though, is retired.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He's retired now,
that would make sense.
I know the therapist I saw is still active.
Okay. Yeah, so it's maybe in the show notes we'll include information to that therapist or any other autism resources. So moving on, if our listeners, and for those of you that just listening to the audio podcast, because that's probably how, I consume podcasts through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your favorite shows. But for those of you watching the live stream on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, you will see underneath Chris's name, his Instagram handle at aviation_level 356. And so first, we're going to put links in the show notes on specialchronicles.com/podcast523 to your Instagram and LinkedIn. But if people look up your Instagram page, they'll see a lot of pictures of a lot of aviation pictures. So can you maybe share a little bit about some of your interests? Because as we know, a lot of people with autism have, and just like any disability, like myself with developmental delays, and yourself with autism, there's no one diagnosis that's the same. We might have the same diagnosis, but there's no one. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah. So can you share with us some of your interests with autism, with loving aviation and photography? Because seeing all, so like I work, like I guess we're gonna geek out a little bit with some aviation stuff. So I work above the wing and in airport operations and customer service, and then you work below the wing, which works close together. So yeah, I love the like all the aviation pictures that you take on your and post on your Instagram. And so can you talk a little bit about some of your just of how you got interested in loving aviation and photography?
So I was watching when I was diagnosed with a back condition back in 2008. I was held out of gym for a good half a year because of it. We just didn't know. It's called hydromyelia. It's just a cyst that lives in my spinal cord, just sits there. Yeah. So I sat in the library during PE class and just was reading up on books of World War II and was just studying. And then I watched a documentary on, it was called Dog Fights, because that's how when they battle in the air, that's what they call it. It's called a dog fight. Mm-hmm. And so I was just like watching, I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. And it was going through World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and to the modern age. And so it just started picking up from there and just kept growing and growing and growing. And then photography was actually just, my mom had like a digital camera that was smaller than my hand. And so I took pictures with it, and my sister and my aunt are like, you've got a really good eye for this. And I'm like, you think so? And then after like a few years, it kind of fell off. And then when we came back to Chicago from Florida, and then obviously when I started with United, it was I joined a Facebook group, which we can also add the link to that. It's called Chicagoland Aviation Spotters. It's actually so popular, they actually had I forget if it was CBS or someone like went out and like interviewed them all and everything, and it started to catch on. And then unfortunately, before he retired, then I caught the eye of Joe Lammerman, and I'll never forget, he keeps looking at me. He goes, when are you going to get a camera? And I'm like, maybe eventually. He goes, yeah, stop using your iPhone, get a camera, go get a camera. And then finally in May of 2021, I finally got a camera for myself. It was actually, I have it right here. It was my original Rebel T7. I've now upgraded to the Canon EOS R. But I finally got this camera. Ooh. And so that's what, and then I just started learning and, the angles, the lighting, and remembering everything from photography. And then I just like caught on where I'm like, okay, I need to get this. I need to get that. I need this. I need that. And I will literally like after I push back an airplane, if the light looks great, I will like run back to the kiosk, grab my camera to get a picture of it as quick as I can.
Awesome. Well, similar to you, I took a few photography classes in high school, and then even in college. Like college, I took a black and white photography class, and then a few different digital photography classes. So I never officially said that I like the journalism, like the journalism degree and concentration in photojournalism is, but technically based on the classes I took, you could say concentration in photojournalism, because I've had now I just use the camera, and so if Joe is listening to this, which we'll have to DM him a link. If you're listening to this, don't tell him that I usually use my iPhone to take pictures. But well,
he's a Sony guy. So
yeah,
I'm a Canon guy.
So
he's a Sony guy. So.
I've got a Canon camera that that a lot of photojournalists use, and I'm blanking on the type of Canon that I have. I'm blanking on the I know it's a macro lens, and then I've also got my graphic designer who designed our Special Chronicles logo. That is, if you point above your head, our listeners can see. Other way, yeah, there we go. That logo. She gave me her old Nikon camera, so I've got two. On the other side of the computer here is a door, and on the other side of the door is where my cameras sit in this closet here. So, yeah. So yeah, I've also loved taking like for example, when I moved into this neighborhood where I live now, which it's amazing. Like when I moved, I told my parents and sisters and everyone in my family that, because I take the Pace bus, right, to the airport, and I was like, the bus goes right to the airport. It's like, it's so, and at the time I didn't have the job at United, because Special Olympics and United at the time didn't create the jobs, and so, but they were looking at me and like, why are you so interested that the bus goes right to the airport? And then fast forward, little did we know, I would now be looking at the airport. But anyways, that's a long way of saying when I first moved in, I grabbed my camera, not my phone, but my it was either my Canon or Nikon. I forgot which one. It was one of those, and I like walked around my neighborhood and took a lot of pictures. When I was going to school downtown, I would take pictures of the train and down in the city. And so yeah, it's amazing hobby to have, and it's I think they say that pictures are worth 1,000 words, and that so it's an amazing to like be able to like capture the images, and for you to look on the ramp to be like so up close to all of the aircrafts is must be a like to combine that love of aviation, to combine that love of photography, must be a great job to like I love interacting with people, so I'm glad that I'm above the wing, but for and communicating with people. Hence why having a podcast. But like for you with that love, like it seems like despite the disability diagnoses that you were diagnosed with, that I was diagnosed with, the gifts that you have with aviation, with photography, makes working on the ramp a perfect job. And then for me, with communicating with others, like having a podcast and communicating with people, like working in customer service is a perfect job. So for anybody at HR or at United who is listening to this conversation right now, I'm sure that's, and actually that, hey, it's just, if I've done this a podcast before, I'm not even looking at the show notes, and it's a good transition to that. If anybody looks at And in the next segment, we'll get into why disclosing your disability at work. But before we even get to that, if somebody sees that somebody like me with intellectual disability, somebody like yourself with autism, and then they learn about the gifts and talents that we have, I think, and I don't know if you want to kind of comment on that, why, or kind of share your advice for autism advocacy at work and in life. Why, I guess kind of like why advocate for autism, and kind of what's some advice based on the interests that you have?
Well, because as I've said before, autism is put in such a negative light in the news media, where all they talk about is the tantrums, and I want to show that, hey, we're not like that. The community's not like that at all. We don't have tantrums. We have sensory issues that people have to, learn to adapt to it. And, because people always say to me, they're like, well, you have these little quirks of yourself. And I go, yeah, because I'm on the autism spectrum. And then everyone goes, they're like, well, that makes more sense now. The little clicks of just pacing around or, getting all antsy. And they're like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, and I tell them I'm on the spectrum, and they're like, now everything makes more sense. Because there's a lot of people at United that have kids with autism, and they, and then they see oh, hey, this guy Chris, he's doing pretty well, and I wonder what's his secret. And then or it's not really a secret. It's just that, after the hard work, your child can be whatever they want to be. They can bring light to other people's lives, just like I brought light to their lives, and they can continue moving that forward, which is what awesome. I would definitely enjoy seeing.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. And speaking of, one of the guests that we had on about a year and a half ago, I think it was January 2022. So if our listeners look back in a Unified at Work series, so just go to specialchronicles.com, click on podcasts, and then Unified at Work. And we had Sandra Caspo, she's from, I don't know if you've met Sandra.
I did. I met her when you were pulling 10,000 airplanes.
Yeah. So Sandra has a young son who I think is around 10. Anyways, go back and listen to that episode and hear about Sandra and her son who has autism. But so that example, and then something that she brought up that just now, with Bridge, that we're trying to advocate for, is called social stories. And so really highlighting the United, how to, through pictures, how to prepare people on the spectrum, or I guess any disability, on the entire journey from the time that you arrive at the airport to the time that you board your flight, and throughout the whole experience. And in fact, we're recording this in the beginning of March, so this episode will drop the end of April. But tomorrow, from the time that we're recording this, I'll be part of a photo shoot here in Chicago that for the website and app that outlines this. It's called Social Stories. And
oh, is that so? Because guess what? You'll be seeing me tomorrow there as well.
You put that same photo shoot. Oh, perfect. Well,
yeah.
See, folks, we didn't even plan to.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good. So maybe that's a good segue of maybe we can and honestly, I didn't. The only thing I heard about is we're meeting at 9 a.m. At the Dinosaur. But other than that, I don't know anything else about this photo shoot. So I don't know if...
Right. I just know the 9 a.m. at the Dinosaur.
All right, well, that's the...
Yeah.
You think that... Okay. I'm not going to go there because I don't want to... I don't want the comms team to shut this podcast series. Or stop sponsoring. That's probably what I should say. We probably want to keep our sponsors.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, do you want to? And I know I didn't put this in the show notes, but do you want to maybe touch a little bit on Well, you know what? We're going to go and take a short break. When we come back, we will maybe touch on this whole idea of social stories, and we'll continue the conversation about film, about TV and film, and the whole idea of documenting the whole journey for anybody on the autism spectrum. So our conversation, we're on the job with Chris Lindsey at Aviation _level 356 on Instagram, and our Unified at Work series will continue after the break right here on SpecialChronicles.com. Support for Special Chronicles comes from ComEd. Special Chronicles is proud to partner with the ComEd Energy Force Ambassador Program. The Energy Force is the country's first energy efficiency education program designed for and taught by people with disabilities. ComEd is powering lives, and Wary is powering us here at Special Chronicles to keep the lights on and our technology is powered on. As ComEd powers the lives of us, they are literally giving a voice to people with special needs. We thank ComEd for the generous support of our mission at Special Chronicles. Learn more at specialchronicles.com/ComEd. That's specialchronicles.com/ComEd. Support for Special Chronicles comes from United Airlines Bridge Disability Business Resource Group. Special Chronicles is proud to partner with United Airlines and the Bridge BLG. Bridge BLG is committed to being an ally for all employees and customers with disabilities. Bridge helps to create internal awareness to keep accessibility needs in mind and partner with key organizations to empower disability inclusion for employment and travel. Bridge, connecting people of all abilities. Book your travel today on United.com or on the award-winning United app. Learn more on United's commitment to disability inclusion for employment and travel at specialchronicles.com/United. That's specialchronicles.com/United. And with that, speaking of that photo shoot that don't you love the background music?
Oh, yeah, it's great.
So with that, speaking of the photo shoot that we kind of teased our listeners before that break, maybe that image that you see for our Unified at Work series is me with a mask, which technically I occasionally still wear a mask because even I just ran into somebody last week who had to get off a flight because she tested positive for COVID. So, yeah, we're not going to talk about maskless on this podcast. But with that, we can say the aircraft is the perfect place to be with all the air filtration and stuff. But,
oh, yeah, it's so clean up in that. I mean, especially on those Dreamliners. Oh, my God,
yeah,
they're so clean.
Yeah, definitely. And with that, might have to get a new. Oh wait, I don't know if I feel like the video might be. There we go. I think we're back. So I think are we there?
There it is.
There we go. There it is. So not the image for the Special Chronicles show, but the image that we have for the Unified at Work series is an image of me in my co-branded uniform in our Chicago airport lobby. But might have to get another maskless image.
Well, yeah, we always got to see that pretty face, right?
I know. So, and then we'll have to get the creative services team to design us a new outlook for the podcast series. So, if I forget, maybe you can remind me to ask. Oh, if you have your camera, we can just, take care of that ourselves.
Yeah, the camera will be with me. Don't worry.
Okay.
They said I could bring it.
Oh, awesome. Might have to have a little double camera action going on.
I'm trying to think too if Marcel's going to be there taking the pictures because I know he's like kind of like our photographer. So I'm like, wow, that'd be pretty awesome too.
That would be, yeah.
I don't know if he is going to be though. He hasn't told me. He's probably going to be like, yeah.
So of that photo shoot, you're going to be in front of the camera as well instead of behind.
Yeah, they actually do want me in front of the camera. So this ugly mug will be in the front of the camera on United.com, hopefully.
I know. Well, and I'm so used to being behind the microphone that being in front of the camera is a kind of different experience. But with that, I think I read a story about you on Flying Together on our employee website. And I know United has done had some images with this podcast series on Flying Together in the past, and so there was. I think the video might be it wasn't a little bit, but we'll see if we can kind of. There you go. Just this past week, I was promoting the upcoming Polo Plunge and trying to get some of our pilots to support my plunge, and one of the pilots, and I think it was I was helping out with the LAX flight at B, because I'm all over the place, anywhere from the lobby to the B side to the C side. Basically,
yeah, you are.
I'm all over the place. So I just so happened to be this past week at B-17 and the LAX flight, and there was a pilot that I made this little QR code that people could scan to support the plunge, and he was like, "I've seen you." Like I mean, he seemed to like know me, and the gate agent was like, "It's probably because you've been on people know you from Flying Together." Yeah. So yeah, that's the whole. I guess with that, I know we've got I try to keep these podcasts to under an hour, so we probably should move on. But the whole idea of social, what Sandra calls social stories, so documented the journey. So for somebody, for like a young person, or I guess anybody on the autism spectrum, to be able to document the journey from the time that you arrive in the airport to like the whole airport experience and the whole United journey. The whole travel journey, that's what this photo shoot is about. But I don't know if you want to highlight how important that is for those on the autism spectrum, for those of us with intellectual disabilities.
Yeah, because granted, I love aviation and anything about traveling, but definitely dealing with the long lines in TSA, I mean, I've heard some autistic people don't like being in long lines, and they got to get ready. Like, hey, there's going to be long lines. You're going to be, there's going to be a lot of people, especially during the departure banks. That's why my recommendation is do the 6 a.m. flights. There's no one in the airport.
Yeah.
You go right through security. And then, you're going to be, in the jet bridge with a lot of people and, because some of them get fidgety, being around a lot of people in such an enclosed space like the jet bridge or inside the aircraft itself, going down the aisle, putting their bag up, and then getting into their seat, and and then they're all around looking, and then maybe during the flight there could be some turbulence, which to me I wasn't a fan of it, but I'm like, it rocks me to sleep now. So, and then the landing, you don't know what type of landing you're gonna get. You could get really high winds where your plane's going like this or coming in sideways and landing, and it's whenever you fly, it's different every time. It's not the same thing every time.
Yeah,
and so I think it's great. It's to get people ready. Hey, this is what to expect, or what to expect, and then they would have knowing what to go in there. Okay, there's gonna be a lot of people. If it's early afternoon, there's going to be a lot of people for TSA. If it's early in the morning, there won't be that many people. When I went to San Francisco on Wednesday, I showed up at the airport at 4 a.m. and then went right through security in 2 minutes because there was nobody there. So compared to flying out in the early afternoon to like an international destination where there's hundreds of people, if not thousands, going through security at that time.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I love that. And I think that what this photo shoot is, and we're not just, for those listening, we're not just, especially if any of our fellow United team members are listening, we're not just promoting it because you're going to see our faces over the United website and app. But I think this will help to spotlight, this will help to spotlight how United is truly trying to be the leading airline when it comes to accessibility and inclusion. And I think what our listeners will see in a new video that myself and another service ambassador in Chicago, we are featured in, which brought up another point. She's a fantastic artist, and she has autism, and she has two of her artworks in the new C10, C15, depending on where you look, but that new United Club, so she has like two new artwork, which is kind of which I still haven't seen it in person yet. I've seen pictures of it, but I think that and I can't share the video with you because I think it will be premiering. United, the comms team will be premiering it in the middle or end of May. And so from about a month from the time that you all hear this. So trust me, the legal team could come after me if I share that video. So again, I'm not going to say, but it's just it highlights how United is trying to be the leading airline when it comes to accessibility and inclusion for employment and for travel. So they highlight maybe 5 of us. So two of us special Olympic service ambassadors. They highlight a pilot with who has one arm. Highlight I think one of our global service agents who's deaf or hard of hearing, and I'm blanking on somebody else. So with that, I think my video is frozen. We want to quickly.
Maybe, or...
Oh, what? I think the video might be. Okay, hopefully. Sorry about that. Let's see if we can quickly move on. Okay. With that, we'll quickly move on to autism in film and TV. And there's a documentary that I told you before we went on air, and I'm showing the viewers. So if you listen to the audio podcast, go check out the video on our YouTube channel, specialchronicles.com, for links to specialchronicles.com, and then click on Watch Live, and you can get links to our YouTube channel. But it's called Asperger's OS. It's about a comedy troupe of 4 friends on the autism spectrum that have bonded through humor and performed as a comedy troupe called Asperger's OS. And so, just again, if you want to, I interviewed the director. Go on to specialchronicles.com, search for Asperger's OS, and you can find and learn more about this film. But that aside, since I've seen it, and you told me that you've seen The Good Doctor on ABC, and you've seen a little bit of it, I've seen a little bit of it, so we're probably not the best people to review it. But what I can say is, if you are listening, DM us, specialchronicles.com for our Instagram, and let us know. But speaking of autism in TV and film, you want to kind of share, and I think this kind of speaks to what you said at the top of the episode about bringing light to autism. And you are definitely bringing light, no pun intended with light and camera light, but you are bringing light to autism in aviation, and kind of bringing it to the TV and film industry. How is that, speaking of like, whether it's the documentaries, whether it is The Good Doctor on ABC, which on camera, I don't think that they don't have actors with autism, but I think I've read that behind the scenes they've got advisors and other people working behind the scenes who have autism. But do you want to maybe kind of shed some light on your thoughts on autism in film and TV?
I think it's kind of cool. Like, I mean, it's showing like the Good Doctor. I mean, the actor, it plays it beautifully. I mean, it shows people with, spectrum, on the autism spectrum, like if they don't have like their proper therapy to cope with their issues like that, like that's what can happen. And then like obviously like the obsession of like going into detail, like that's definitely a cool thing, like because that's what I do, like going into like details.
Awesome. Awesome. I think I might be having a few video.
I mean, yeah, it would be kind of cool too to like, maybe like if United's listening to this, it would be kind of cool as like if we did like a commercial, like a Good Leads the Way commercial, like to show them how we are number one when it comes to people with disabilities and everything like that.
Awesome. I think that your video kind of cut out a little bit. Can you repeat that for maybe I'll try to pull out a clip that hopefully anyone at United Comms is listening. But your idea about that Good Leads the Way commercial.
Yeah, like how we did like a Good Leads the Way commercial to start the year. I think that would be it would be kind of cool. Like if like they had like people that are known like in United with the disability, like you, me, and then like a few others that are very well known, like Ryan Wilkes and stuff, like with his disability. And it'd be kind of cool like if we did like a commercial that went nationwide, and then people could really see, not only on the website, but now people are seeing this like on TV, and they're like, hey, they're doing good things with like little snippet interviews.
Awesome. Yeah.
I think that would be cool.
I love that idea. Well, we're going to take one final break, and then we will wrap up this episode with touch briefly on your United journey and final thoughts and a final question at the end of the episode. So our guest, we're on the job with Chris Lindsey, and we will be back with this final break on SpecialChronicles.com. We'll be right back. Special Chronicles is hosted by Podbean Podcast Hosting, the easiest, most affordable option to get started in podcasting. At Special Chronicles, we proudly host our weekly podcast with Podbean and highly recommend you use Podbean Podcast Hosting to get started in podcasting today. Sign up for an unlimited hosting plan and get 1 month free now to get started in podcasting today when you visit specialchronicles.com/Podbean. That's specialchronicles.com/Podbean. Our live streams are powered by StreamYard, the easiest way to create professional live streams. StreamYard is a live streaming studio in your browser. Interview guests, share your screen, and much more. Stream directly to Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and other platforms. Sign up for StreamYard today using our StreamYard referral link when you visit specialchronicles.com/StreamYard. That's specialchronicles.com/StreamYard. And we'll should be back if the overlay. I think I might have to click it. There we go. There you go. I've done this before. I just didn't click the overlay. We might have to. We are running a little bit short on time for what we planned. But this has been a great conversation, and so we might have to do one or two things in like 5 minutes. Run through the final little bullets that we have in the show notes. Or the another thing is we might go over the hour, and then I would hate to have to cut short your story. So what we might end up doing is just go over the 1 hour mark, and then I might trim the video, and the audio podcast listeners will hear the full conversation, and then the video viewers might only hear a little bit. So we'll see. We'll see how we do that. With that, speaking of your United journey, can you take us back to how you came to work at United and how you came to be a United Airlines Ramp Agent in Chicago? Can we say that's the number one hub?
I mean, it is.
It is. I mean, okay. Folks listening or watching, these are two employees based in Chicago. So I'm sure a previous guest, Brianna, will probably agree that Chicago is number one. But with that, can you share with us a little bit how you came to
so I started with like a different like outsourced like company like with Swissport, and then I saw United was hiring on the ramp, so I applied, and I had my interview in November of 2017, and I was hired on the spot with United, and I started on January 29th of and definitely it's been a life changer to say the least. I look back on it now after, and it's been a journey, I can say, and it's not over yet.
Absolutely, yeah, it's been a journey. I think our video is cut in and out a little bit here. So for the sake of time, I think we will quickly move on. But can you, Chris, touch a little bit on, I think hopefully my video will catch up here a little bit. Let's see if the video catches up. Chris's video might need to catch up a little bit, and so we'll see if my video can catch up as well. Both videos are catching up a little bit, so we'll see if if the video will catch up. I think sorry about that, Chris. Let's backtrack a little bit and have you share with our listeners. Can you kind of repeat that, since I think our videos are working again, of how you began at United Airlines, and then
I think the weather is affecting our signals, but I
think it is.
I started in January 28th of 2018 after I was hired on the spot in November of 2017, and I just celebrated 5 years with the company, and I knew you were going to do something like that. But year 4 was actually the one that kind of put the spotlight on, my advocacy for the autism awareness, because like there was an article that dropped on just before my 4-year anniversary, and it like blew up internally and just put a huge spotlight that I actually wasn't even ready for. We're now like going into year 5, like I have like when the United Club had an open house, I had flight attendants that had just started with United, knew who I was through my Instagram. I've had I had just recently, I had a passenger stop me and say, "Hey, are you such and such for Instagram?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." And and it's just I grew from only 600 followers at the beginning of 2022 to now I'm over to almost 3,000 followers in the beginning of 2023, and it just keeps growing and growing. And I'm like, oh my God. And it's going good, because I wanted to, keep going, to make my family proud, and to keep the awareness going, keep it going and not let it stop. And
awesome.
Journey's definitely not over.
Definitely, yeah. It's an ongoing journey, but it's amazing that, I think it fits with Good Leads the Way and connecting people and uniting the world. Well, when we definitely connect our passengers, but we connect all among employees and family. And speaking of that, I saw a text message come through from my producer that she's coming back with her daughter from Florida. So she lives in the Maryland, Washington, D.C. area. So, whoa, good. good leads the way that your producer needs to reschedule. Kind of tie that back with this. Okay. Why disclose, and I have a feeling we'll probably have to go over the hour. So we will, when it comes to that, we will, the video viewers might have to go tune into the audio podcast. Hate to have to separate our video and audio listeners, but we might have to do that. So with that, why disclose your autism or any disability at work? Why do you feel it's important? So and I guess maybe using your story as an example, with you've obviously not only publicly on Instagram, but I'm sure with your supervisor. So why, kind of from your perspective, if there are any fellow United employees listening, or I guess any of our listeners, why disclose autism or any disability at work?
Well, because as I said, I have my quirks, and people are all like, what are these quirks? And then when I explain I'm on the autism spectrum, then everything makes sense. And I definitely don't think that it should be hidden away. I mean, it's, it's part of you, and what makes you, you. And it's definitely okay to say, hey, I have a disability. It's who I am, and it's what makes me me. And that's why I think it's okay to share if you have a disability, whether it's, mentally, physically, share it. And because it's who you are as a person, and you definitely need to be, share who you are as a person and not be afraid to.
Awesome. Well, moving right along, this is the point of the episode before we get to that final question. I have two final questions. But this is the point of the show where we get to social media plugs. And we will, if you want to share, we've mentioned your Instagram account on multiple times throughout this episode, but I know we have also connected on LinkedIn as well, and so you share with our listeners how our listeners can follow you on Instagram. For those of you that are just listening to the audio podcast, or even the video episode, we'll put links in the show notes on specialchronicles.com. But how can our listeners follow you on Instagram, LinkedIn, website?
They can just follow either by just putting the username into the search bar in Instagram and just hit that follow. It's not private; it's all public. So if you want to follow it that way, because I post as much as I can with my airplanes and sometimes the people at work, or even now my adventures that I try to do, and just aviation_lover356. Just type that into the search bar on Instagram or click a link and hit that follow, and There you go. That's it. Awesome.
Well, we'll make sure to include links to your Instagram in the show notes on specialchronicles.com /podcast 523. And so for those of you that if you are listening or watching this, and just look in the show notes, and you can click on a link to that will go right to Chris's Instagram, and then hit that follow button, and we're all good. You can share and like and follow Chris on Instagram. With that,
forget him.
Oh, yes. Well, see, that's the thing. I always forget to promote my own social media on this podcast. We do it at the top of the episode, but this last part, maybe I should start to do that. Okay, thanks for reminding me. folks, specialchronicles.com for links to follow Special Chronicles on Instagram, social media, and at Podmandan, PODMANDAN at Podmandan. If you want to follow me personally, whether I'm doing a cool fundraiser such as plunging into the lake, polar plunge, or I am, anyway. Traffic.
100 airplanes in one day.
Yeah.
I think you pulled like 10 that day.
It was funny, like maybe because I was the MC, like they asked me to pull with another sponsor of Special Olympics, and I think I pulled with 2 or 3 United teams, and then keep in mind that day, because just like how you said, people saw you, like employees were coming up to you. After the plane pull, people will come up to me because there was, as you saw, you were there, the media team at United had a camera like in my face as I was pulling the plane. It's one thing to do a podcast and to have the camera in front of you like it is now. It's a whole nother thing that like to have a camera like facing.
Yeah, it definitely is.
So so if you if any of our United family team members are listening, and you look up the 2022 plane pull Chicago recap video, you may see another face on there. With that, do you have any? And we all over the hour mark. So if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, I may have trimmed this out already. Go listen to the audio podcast. Follow Special Chronicles on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere that you listen to your favorite shows to listen to the full episode. With that, any final thoughts on your time today on the Special Chronicles show and our Unified Work series?
I definitely think it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of good laughs. We got to have the so fun technical difficulties. I think it's because of the weather. There's lightning in the area. So. It
is. I've got this app on my United map device, and I didn't even look at it. But probably if I looked at it, I would have seen the weather.
Yeah. But overall, it was definitely a fantastic time.
It was. It definitely was, and I think the video might have frozen. Yeah, that weather is really. Yeah. Cut it. But speaking of that laughter, hopefully. See?
A lot of good laughs on this.
Hopefully I will. Hopefully our listeners will applaud into just like that. And I don't know who came up with that laugh track. Anyways, to introduce the final question, we're going to go ahead and, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and play the bumper. I'm not even going to put the overlay up because this is probably only for our audio podcast listeners that will hear this last part of the show. So with that, we're going to go. Let's go ahead and roll that bumper.
We're not just athletes.
We are the ambassadors of an uprising. Peaceful protesters.
In a rebellion against anyone
who has a fear of difference.
Difference.
Our demands are
equality,
dignity, and the recognition of our
shared humanity. We will not stop
or accept anything less.
Today, our world is
more divided than ever.
And coming together has never been more urgent.
The revolution
is inclusion.
Find out more at jointherevolution.org.
And ever since I attended the 2019 Special Olympics World Games in Abu Dhabi, I've been asking all of our guests, most of our guests, all of our guests for the past 5 years, this one final question, and I'll do the same with you, Chris. And as you know, inclusion in the inclusion revolution is a big part, is a big message in our Special Olympics movement. It's a big part at our United family as well. and inclusion important here at Special Chronicles as well. And so I'll conclude and ask you, perfect way to wrap up the episode, and ask you, what does inclusion mean to you?
Inclusion to me means that no matter who you are, whether you have a disability or you're part of the LGBTQIA community, or if you're of different diversity, or it doesn't matter. I mean, you are definitely your own unique person, and you should never shy away from who you are, and then it's also great that workplaces are now including that to allow people to express who they are and who they are as a person. And it's absolutely fantastic to be able to and have a platform to advocate for your different ways to include, whether it be the disability or the LGBTQIA community or or people of color and different, and then the women in the workplace. It's all coming into a head where it's all like one, and it's fantastic to be a part of. We can all be who we want to be. And
well,
definitely.
Awesome. Well, that's a perfect way to wrap up this episode in. I think that ties in. I attended the DEI, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion team at United. I attended the Business Resource Group Summit last October, I think there was. I forgot when. It was down at Willis. Yeah, and that's something that I know. I had our Chief Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Officer, Jessica, on this podcast that actually played on 35,000 feet, part of our in-flight entertainment. Yeah, so this podcast has been seen at 35,000 feet in the sky. Yeah, I love that little negative information at the end of the episode. But I think I love the way that you define inclusion, and it I've talked about it with some other guys as well, that it's important for our listeners to remember to keep disability should be included in diversity discussions. So like when we talk about DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, disability should be included in diversity. And I think that kind of sums up kind of how you define inclusion. And hopefully, if anybody from the DEI team at United or just any of our listeners, even if you work at another company or business, just keep that in mind. And thank you again, Chris, for coming on this podcast. It's been a blast.
Absolutely.
Hopefully, we'll have to. Hopefully, someday we can maybe even. I was talking with some colleagues at our Houston hub of maybe seeing if we could do like an on the road podcast at some of our different hubs. I don't know. It's I have not even brought the idea up to the comms team or anybody at Bridge yet. But if you're listening to this, if anyone from the comms team at United is listening to this, we are, we'll just hit me up on Teams or DM, again, specialchronicles.com. Click on podcasts and then 523 to find the show notes to follow Chris, and as well as how to connect with me. And with that, we will cut you all. I'm about to end that. I didn't even play the outro. I'm all over the place here. I think it's the weather. It's about time to end this episode. Well, thank you, Chris, for taking the time to come on this episode. This has been episode 523, 500 and something. Well, maybe let's just leave it at that. Maybe that's what I just say from now on. This is episode 500 and something. Our guest, we've been on the job with Chris.
Yeah, just 500.
Yeah, 500 and something. 500 and something. That sounds about right?
Yeah.
500. This has been episode 500 and something. Our guest has been Chris Lindsey at aviation_level 356. Go give him a follow on Instagram, and while you're there, give Special Chronicles a follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and anywhere you listen to your favorite shows. It goes a long way. Hit that follow, subscribe, like button, share, and have a great day. We'll see you next week. Every Monday, 6 p.m. Central Time, right here on SpecialChronicles.com. And catch you later. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Special Chronicles Podcast. Our podcast was produced by Daniel Smrokowski on the Special Chronicles Network. Follow Special Chronicles on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Subscribe, rate, and review Special Chronicles on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Our website, SpecialChronicles.com, where you can stream our archives of over 500 episodes for absolutely for free. Also, there's a list of our favorites, original series, award-winning columns, and blogs. And sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive bonus content delivered to your inbox. Again, SpecialChronicles.com. Special Chronicles is hosted by Podbean Podcast Hosting. Our live streams are powered by StreamYard. Thanks as always to our business manager, Adam Smrokowski, who always encourages us to never give up. I'm Daniel Smrokowski, back next week with more stories.
Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
And did I hit stop on the recording? I haven't. This is the after show, but
Yep, I still see live on there.
yeah. Sometimes I do that. Give a listen to a little after show. Anyways, with that,